Hey, everybody. So I posted this in our group chat earlier, and I felt like maybe we could try to do something new with the fan football forum tip. I think I'm going to do these on Fridays, but I had a little bit of time today. I had about 45 minutes of a break today, so I was like, might as well get out there and see if anyone wants to come and hop on. If you guys are interested in hopping on with me, um, I can shoot you the link. I'm actually going to post the link so you guys can actually just click the link, come on and talk some football with me. Anyone and everyone is welcome. So you guys, I mean, it's a free for all right now. So this is a completely unscripted show. So come at me with your all your questions. Could be Broncos related, could be NFL related, whatever you guys have. If you want to join me, like I said, I can shoot you the link. I'm going to be posting it to our group page at Rocky Mountain Sports Report. And look at this. We already got a viewer and Mr. Adam. How are you, Adam? So speaking of Adam, Adam does a super, super awesome podcast. He's based across the pond over in the UK, but he works with kids who have autism, and they do a ton of great interviews with pro athletes over there. They do I think they've had a couple interviews with guys here as well. Adam, if you feel free to correct me on that, but I'd love to have you on the show sometime. Typically, we go Wednesdays, we go Saturdays. We got shows pretty much every day of the week these days. So come and join us. Facebook user. So awesome. So this brings up a great point. So if you want to provide comments, there's going to be a little link at the top of this post where you have to actually grant StreamYard permission to use your profile name and all that fun stuff. That way I know who you are. Or if you don't feel comfortable giving StreamYard permission, go ahead and just comment in the comments who you are. So I'm going to post this link really quick on our Facebook page so people can come and join me really quick. Boom. So I just posted on the group page. So if you guys want to come join me, it'll pop up and it will just click the link. You'll pop up in my little broadcast booth. You just got to give permission to use your audio, camera, whatever you guys have available, and get on here. We could talk some. Sports. I've got a couple other comments coming in. Let's see. Adam, you are correct. I'd love to come on, but I do not know anything about your type of football. Well, hey, we're always willing to learn more about soccer, football for you guys. We're also, willing to, talk other sports. We have basketball teams, we got baseball teams. One thing I'd love to learn about is cricket. I have no knowledge of the game at all. All right. Hey, Keith, I know Keith said he was interested in coming and joining on. Keith, I just posted the link to our page. And so I have about 40 minutes to come and talk some sports. So, while we're waiting to see if anyone wants to come on and join me, let's talk some Broncos stuff. We definitely had the quarterback controversy here forever. I got some visitors. We're just kind of relaxed today at home. So this is one of my kiddos. So what do you think? Are the Broncos going to win on Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Daddy, my tablet died. Can I have your phone?
Absolutely, you can have my phone. Here you go. Oh, you're not feeling well? What's going on with you? There you go. All right. So let's talk about the quarterback controversy. As you know, my entire team has deemed me the lock flocker. So we got Teddy Bridgewater coming out for the Broncos this weekend. So what's that going to look like? I think we're all a little nervous because we're scared it's going to be this. We've been sold on this extremely safe type of offense. Can he stretch the field? Does he have the arm strength to do it? I mean, these are all questions that hopefully will be answered on Sunday. And it looks like we got our first guest of the show, the first official guest of Fan Forum. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
We're good, man. How about you?
Oh, we're doing good. Trying something new. Just trying to, get people to interact because, sometimes it's hard and, why not doing it during, a lunch break,
Yeah, why not, man?
Oh, Victor. I don't know. You follow us pretty good. So Victor, him and I are like the anti-opposite. So he's the lock lover. I'm the lock flogger. And so Locke's taken over when Teddy Bridgewater puts everyone to sleep. And what I was diving into right before you came on is that, being victims, let's call ourselves victims of poor quarterback play for what feels like, 5 consecutive seasons now, Peyton left in 2015. So, yeah. So, I mean, it is kind of nerve wracking because we're being sold on, let's plug the veteran in. Let's see what he can do. It's the same method we've been using, but this is the first time we're going to kind of get, oh, well, he's safe. And when you're a quarterback and safe, you feel concerned. You're like, oh, gosh, how are we going to compete with quarterbacks like Pat Mahomes? So, what do you think about what is your feeling with Teddy Bridgewater this weekend?
Me personally, I'm kind of happy for this situation. I'll be honest. I'm not a Lock hater, but I also understand exactly what Bridgewater has brought to the Broncos. Everything that I've seen as far as his highlights, especially in preseason, for me, it's been consistency in the pocket, able to move in the pocket. One thing that I always saw with Lock, get a little nervous, drift back, drift to the right, hopefully throw it away. That's all we end up running into. So I'm excited for Bridgewater. His longevity for a 17-game season, that's something else to be talked about, though.
Yeah, I mean, one thing with Teddy Bridgewater, a lot of people come back to it, they're like, oh, the injuries. Well, I was unaware of this, but one of my good buddies pointed out to me that prior to or after the Vikings injury, he's only missed 1 game since then. So I mean, he's been relatively healthy, but I think because of how gruesome and horrific that injury was, I mean, it took him out for nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all somewhat hesitant of like, what does that injury look like,
Yeah. And limited time with the Saints, you know what I mean? We didn't get to see 2 seasons of 16 games, you know what I mean? We saw a limited sample size. We flip over to Carolina and then we get a 15 out of 16 games. So.
Oh yeah. You bringing my phone back, sweetheart? Oh yeah, one of the kiddos stayed home from school today. She had an appointment this morning, and we're like, "What's the point? You missed lunch, so now I got to feed you anyways." Maybe later. How about this? Go upstairs because I'm in a meeting. Found it. Go watch cartoons. Okay. Nice. All right. Let's see what we got. Some comments coming in. Teddy 2 gloves equals 0 excitement. Darnold took him out of 2 jobs. That is, this is what people. I think Sam Darnold's also somewhat of a misunderstood quarterback. Looking at him as a, what he had in New York is he had, a coach who's from, the loony box and Adam Gase, who's the only time he's been successful is when he had, solid staff, solid backing, and solid team here in Denver. I mean, and if we look at the team that he's had since he's came into the league, 3 years ago now, his best weapon has been Frank Gore, who, I mean, I'm surprised the man can still walk with how many years he's played. He's only on 22 years of football if you include college.
Yep.
And I mean, 0 receiving help. Jamison Crowder's been his best receiver in the last 2 seasons. And I mean, most people don't even know who Crowder is.
Yeah.
I mean, so now that he's out in Carolina, he's working with Joe Brady, LSU offensive coordinator for a minute, helped with the development of Joe Burrow. And he's got Matt Rule out there, who they're both offensive-minded coaches. So, I mean, he's got CMC, if CMC can stay healthy. He's got Robbie Anderson, and he's got DJ Moore. So, I mean, they've got some talent out there.
They've got a tremendous amount of talent. And I think what people need to remember, too, is that, Sam Darnold was a salary dump pickup for them, too. It's their ability to start fairly fresh and young with a QB and do it on the cheap because what they had paid Bridgewater to come into Carolina was fairly large money. They couldn't continue with that. So and bring in all those weapons that now Sam Darnold has.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Sam Darnold provides them is a youthful option. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, it feels like he's ancient in terms of football, but he's only 28 years old. But Sam Darnold brings in that fresh young kid who's got all the intangibles. And it just made sense for them to go in a direction. They were kind of on that spot where, their top quarterback prospect was probably off the board. I mean, they didn't feel like they're in a position like, let's go sell the farm to move up. We want to continue to build this team organically. Matt Rule has a ridiculously long contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it just didn't make sense. If they could get a guy like who was, number 2 pick in the draft for relatively nothing, I'm going to do it too. I mean, it's less risk. So let's give this guy, a chance. And as for Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, unfortunately, he's, his name sells what he is. He's a bridge. And he was the bridge for Sam Darnold in Carolina, and he'll likely, unfortunately, be a bridge to whomever the next quarterback is going to be here. Is that going to be a veteran like Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, pending whatever happens with his legal situation? Is that going to be the segue into a rookie quarterback? I mean, at this point, we don't know. Right now, we just know that he's the starter. Let's see, a couple more comments. I would have taken Tyrod Taylor over Bridgewater. That's iffy. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's a phenomenal athlete. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got legs for days. But, you talk about health concerns. He's had many recent health issues. I mean, just as soon as getting stabbed in the lung by your team doctor last year. So, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, he is what he is, and he fits what this team is going for. So, I would take Teddy Bridgewater over Tyrod Taylor. What about you?
I'm the same way. I just see a consistency in his arm that's in Bridgewater's arm that's better over Tyrod Taylor. If I remember correctly, I think it was like 3 years ago, the Broncos actually brought Tyrod Taylor in, took a look at him, passed on him. That's when he ended up going over to San Diego. So we have familiarity and obviously wanted to go a different direction. I love Tyrod Taylor's legs, but I have never seen that consistency where he's able to command a team, bring him down the field, 2-3 drives in a row, put points on the board. Just has never happened, even if it's 3 points.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if we look at it, Tyrod Taylor, I mean, if we're like, oh, who's going to get us to the playoffs? I mean, Tyrod Taylor, I mean, if we look at mediocre, that's kind of what it is, mediocre.
Yeah.
I mean, he's led teams to he's got a team to the playoffs, but it was with a pretty average record. I believe it was 8-8 with Buffalo. I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I'm not a Bills fan, so I'm like, I don't care. But I mean, yeah. So, question coming here: do you guys expect the Broncos to make the playoffs this season? I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, I broke down the schedule when I first saw it. Once Bridgewater was named quarterback, looked it all over, and I came up with 10-7. I feel it's realistic. A couple of splits in there with our division rivals. We got an early good start. We do need to start 3-0 in order to make that kind of happen. So worst case scenario, a 9-8, 10-7, I think gets us in. 9-8 is borderline.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where my initial record projection is. I don't have my official. I'm going to do a little bit more research and then kind of dive into that one on Sunday, because we have another show coming Sunday for pregame with K&K, who's where Mr. Kirkpatrick's commenting. So we'll be doing a forum with them Sunday morning at 9:30. So tune in, catch us there. We'll talk Broncos Giants because they got the Giants background, so we got the Broncos background. But going back to the playoffs, I do think it's feasible. I do think it is a realistic option. I think it is 10-7, and 10-7 should secure that wild card spot. I think that's kind of the. Do I feel like that's their ceiling? I think they could sneak in a couple of wins. I mean, we see teams. We talk about a couple key games like the Baltimore game. Baltimore is unfortunately dealing with a ton of injuries. Lamar Jackson is a huge part of their offense, and what Denver does really great at is containment. They contain, so we have two great edge rushers who can create the exterior pressure to make the quarterback stay in the pocket. If they can continue that and have success with that, they're going to make Lamar Jackson throw the ball. And then that's where we see Baltimore's offense, who's usually, high performing, throwing up a ton of points because of their diversity, becomes not one dimensional, but makes him play to what his weakness is.
Correct. Yeah. I'd agree.
Yeah. The one game that I do not want us to lose is Philadelphia, because I feel they may be the worst team in the game. I'm going to let my dog out real quick. And kiddo's locked him in with me. And he'll start whining. But But yeah, I mean, that's the one game I really don't want us to lose. But there was a really good question here from Kenny. If I can find it, let's see where it went. Well, his question essentially was, if Denver loses to New York this Sunday, what percentage of Broncos fans are going to be demanding lock? And I feel like they're going to be like 98%. And you know, Keith and I might be in the minority. I mean, I've been in the minority for months now when it comes to Drew Lock. So what do you think? What's your percentage?
Yeah. 80% plus. You know, there's going to be some people that'll have some patience, and there'll be some people that are actually Bridgewater fans out there as well. But I can tell you, you know, let's face it, we need to start winning early. We have 3 games that should be fairly simple to put in the bag. Well, I shouldn't say fairly simple. It's the NFL. Anything can happen. But projecting forward, 3 wins looks like they could hit the board. We also need to start winning in September, since we've never done that with Vic Fangio.
Nope. Oh, I think it's 0-7.
So
0-8. I can't remember.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous, though.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm more concerned about 0-2. And my biggest concern, honestly, and I know people are going to probably blow up on me, I know the Jets defense looks terrible, but Zach Wilson looked every bit of a number 2 quarterback and is a little scary. I know we got a great Denver D, but holy cow, that kid is on the move and he's throwing bullets, and it's a little bit scary going into week 3. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally agree. I think a lot of people are overlooking that game. I mean, if we look, I think the 2 games that people are overlooking, I mean, yes, they are completely winnable games. I mean, but the opposing side is going to be looking at Denver as, oh, this is a completely winnable game because of where we were. But, you know, New York Giants, we'll start there. Their defense, that's going to be a top 10 defense. I mean, they are stacked. Their front 7 is great. I mean, their outside backers is the weakness.
Right.
I mean, so, you know, outside backers in the 4-3 do various things. So if they're covering tight ends, we're going to see a ton of success from probably Noah Fant, because he's got the lateral quickness to get away from him. But their secondary, they got James Bradbury, who's a Pro Bowler. They got Adoree Jackson, who was a first-round pick from Tennessee. Unfortunately, got into some trouble and was released, trying to revitalize himself there. They got Jabril Peppers. They got, I mean, it's just a stacked team. And then, you know, forgetting that they have Leonard Williams right up in the front.
Yeah.
That's going to be that's asking Graham Glasgow, Dalton Reisner, wherever he's lining up on the field. That's a huge dude to move. I mean, so hopefully we get some running lanes open. But going back to what you said about the Jets, their defense may be atrocious, but we're forgetting who they just brought in. Robert Saleh is a great defensive-minded coach, and the one thing that everyone raves about him is he gets the people to play for him.
Yes.
I mean, some of those San Francisco 49ers defenders, I mean, granted, they're stacked, but there were some guys that we never heard of. Like Akilio Weatherspoon was there for a minute, the corner, who, I mean, he's a CU Buff guy, but, I mean, we don't really get much credit for our college guys. But, I mean, he was like a 5th or 6th round pick, but he was starting and playing well for them at some points. So, I mean, if he can get these guys to rally him, it's all about momentum. I mean, they got Quinnen Williams out there, who's a guy out of Alabama. I mean, they got talent out there. C.J. Mosley, another great, I mean, probably top 2, top 3 inside linebacker. So, I mean, we can't fall asleep on them. And I hope if we're riding high, I hope that doesn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. Can't go in going 2-0 and feeling like we got an easy win versus the Jets. So
let's see, got a couple other things. Top 3 to 5 defense. I think we both agree with that.
Agreed.
This is it'd be a little worry starting on the road the first 2 games. It's hot and humid in Jax. I mean, weather can play a thing, but I mean, we're weather tested. The altitude, I think, gets us prepared for a lot. I mean, myself not being the best conditioned athlete has done things in the desert and humid. I mean, so hopefully they're a little bit better shape than I am. The heat, it's a different type of heat though. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I think first game rust for any team is probably a bigger factor than weather.
Agreed.
Just trying to get out there and get something going in the first couple of drives and get points on the board. That's the most important thing. Get that going, you'll be good.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that this past weekend in college football. I mean, we've seen Oklahoma come out and completely look dang near pretty awful for a minute against Tulane, and then they got better, and then it went crashing down, and Tulane was making a comeback. I mean, if Oklahoma would have lost to Tulane, the world would have been on fire.
Yeah.
But
Georgia's great, but are they that great over Auburn? I mean, middle of the season, Georgia Auburn game would have been fantastic. First game of the season, I'd really like to see that rust all shooken off and really.
I mean, and we've seen two teams really struggle, in Clemson and Georgia this week when they played each other. I mean, there was not even an offensive touchdown when Clemson was one of the highest scoring offenses in the recent years, and I mean,
a lot of hype for a couple of quarterbacks too.
Yeah, so you don't really know. I mean, one team we can guarantee there was no rust on was Alabama. I mean, they destroyed Miami. I mean, that kid, he's a sophomore, Bryce. What's his name? Is it Hall? No, Bryce Young. I mean, he looks like he's going to be something pretty legit. I mean, he might be the first realistic quarterback out of Alabama. I mean, Mac Jones, they're trending more towards these pro style, but this kid just looked phenomenal this weekend. Let's see, a couple more comments. I agree, we're having trouble covering tight ends. Kenny referencing the Giants. Yeah, and you got a couple really good ones from us in Noah Fant, Alberto, very vertical type tight ends. And Eric Saubert, I mean, never even heard of the guy till this preseason, and he looked phenomenal. He looked to be solid. He does provide a good blocking option as well, so I think we are going to see him frequently.
Yep.
But Teddy,
I see he's talking about covering tight ends. Which I don't know if Vaughn leaked it out of the bag or not, but if he did, expect to see some Surtain on some tight ends. He was already talking about him matching up against Kelsey, so that'll be interesting. That's someplace we've struggled with.
Absolutely.
And honestly, first replacement on a defense, I would say almost Alexander could be the first guy replaced on our defense if coming out, just because of his coverage. Great intensity, but his coverage and his speed is something that just lacks when it comes to covering great tight ends. So
and one thing that Vic himself actually said is expect for us to see a lot of dime packages. So in dime packages, you have 6 DBs on the field and only one backer. Well, who they were lining up at dime backer, who they were giving him reps at, is Pat Surtain in that dime backer spot. So you're looking at having Ronald Darby, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callahan, Kyle Fuller, and probably the newest corner we brought in is Mike Davis. So you're going to have and Mike Davis. I mean, he's hit or miss, but that's a solid thing. And the one thing that we confirm is none of these corners are afraid to tackle either.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited to see what he's over there. Let's see a couple things coming in. You guys want Josie Jewell for $5? Victor does not like Josie Jewell either. And here's another question from Kenny. Wrong one. Vaughn or Chubb is going to rush the blind side. I'm not sure who's going to rush the blind side right now. Vaughn typically does it, but they said he's going to get creative this year in Vic Fangio, so we'll see what happens. Oh, I think I lost Keith. Are you there?
Oh, Matt, but you might be having some audio.
Yeah. So what I would do, if you could, just turn down your volume just a tad, and I'll turn down mine as well. That typically fixes it. All right, let's try that. Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, all right, we'll let him kind of figure that out. Are we still getting audio issues?
Just staticky, but I'll duck out for a second. I'm gonna see if it's me.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, while Keith is fixing that, we'll take him out, and I'll go back to answer some of these questions. You just described Josie Jewell. What's up, Victor? I'll trade Broncos for Nate. I'll trade to the Broncos Nate Soldier. We don't want Nate Soldier, Kenny. You can keep him. He's past his prime. I get it. We got the Colorado ties, but you can keep him. He doesn't want to give up $5, but he'll give up Nate Soldier. He'll throw in a bag of Sun Chips, and I'm making the over-under on Daniel Jones fumble too. Dang. I mean, Danny Dimes is going to have a rough day. I think this is going to be a tough matchup, and they haven't really given him any reps. He's been, sitting the bench for most of the preseason. So, I mean, having him come out against, what you said, Kenny, in a top, 3 to 5 defense, possibly even better, is going to be a struggle for him. It's not going to be, a thing. Him losing Ingram possibly is what it's sounding like. He's not going to play. Galladay nursing like a hamstring injury. Saquon Barkley coming in on a snap count. I mean, it's not really lining up to be favorable for Daniel Jones. Speaking of Daniel Jones, let's flip the table from the Broncos for a minute while Keith is gone, and let's talk Giant stuff. Daniel Jones, he's came in. I mean, a lot of people thought he was overdrafted. He came in too high. So, I mean, now that unfortunately Daniel Jones had to deal with some of the same circumstances that a lot of what our fan favorite and Drew Lock had to go through. Pat Shurmur, I mean, some people deemed him the quarterback killer, especially with these young quarterbacks. He comes in with an extremely complex West Coast offense, and I mean, we heard the reports that even vets is who've been in the league as long as Cam Newton was having difficulty learning a playbook over there in New England. So, I mean, just because you're a veteran, you've been around, it doesn't mean that the playbook's just going to come naturally to you. So, I mean, if Daniel Jones continues to struggle, do we deem it back down to he had to deal with Pat Shurmur like Drew Lock? I mean, ooh, look at this. David Slade. What's up, fellas? Dave, if you're free, come on. I got a little bit of time left. We're going to kick it on for I'd say about 10 more minutes. We'll probably hop off about 55 as I got a meeting at 2:00. Oh, Keith, I think you're back. Let's see. How's it going?
We're doing great, man. Thanks for the moment.
Sounds good. Maybe Teddy B can teach Daniel Jones to where he goes. My help with his fumble issues, Victor. So you might be onto something there. But I was talking about Daniel Jones and how he's probably on a short lease as well. I mean, we've seen the lease. Unfortunately, we don't know what Drew Lock's future holds, but going into Daniel Jones, this is really his make or break. If they're not going to pull him midseason because they don't really have an option to pull him midseason. But if he underperforms, they say quarterbacks, first round quarterbacks get 3 years, unless there's a coaching change. I don't think they're going to change on Joe Judge this soon. It just doesn't make sense. This is only year 2. Same thing. Coaches usually get 3 years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I don't think unless he has some kind of phenomenal season. I mean, he's in a very winnable division in the East, NFC East. I mean, Dak, if he's healthy, Cowboys should run away with it. They really should. But we don't know what his health is. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott fumbles the ball like it seems like every 10 snaps. So,
yep.
I mean, if the Cowboys are struggling, there's no reason why the Giants should not win this division. I think they got a better offense than Washington football team. I think they don't have as good as a defense as Washington. Sorry about this, getting calls everywhere. Let me close that out. Yeah, so going back to it. So I think New York has a good chance of winning their division if Dak is not healthy. Do you think they can win it, or do you think Washington is more of the choice?
It's I think, like you said, NFC East is a very winnable division. It's just as much an easy losable division.
Exactly. We could see a losing record hit the playoffs again.
How many times have we been down the stretch just wondering who's not going to lose to get the NFC East title? It seems like it's every other year that we're happening with that. Honestly, I know that you said watch out for the Eagles. That's the one you're watching for. I've been a Hurts fan, so I'm even putting the Eagles in there as a possibility. I mean, it's so wide open. If Dak doesn't come back, if Zeke with his new physique, it doesn't come out there not fumbling the ball and is actually running like he used to be, then that's a different story. But if Dak comes out and he's not quite on par and Zeke's not still the fumble machine that he was, and that constant downtrend that we've been seeing in his numbers year after year after year, they're in just as much trouble of being at the bottom of the division as they could be at the top.
Yeah, Dallas' defense is atrocious. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, they're doing little things to improve. They got, they have Leighton
Want to see Michael Parsons?
Yeah, they got Michael Parsons. They have Vander Esch. They have Jalen Smith. They've done things to really try to improve it. I mean, but they just keep investing in like the same positions. And now Van Der Esch is supposedly on the trade block, who I would love for Denver to get if he legitimately is on the block. So, I mean, I think you're right. NFC East is always a toss up. I mean, I'm not as high on Jalen Hurts. I think he's got the talent to be successful, but he doesn't have the talent around him to be successful. I mean, Jalen Reagor, while he's great, he's super fast. I mean, he's had health issues. Devontae Smith, same thing. Super, super awesome, great athlete. But I mean, the frame, that's my biggest concern is his frame. He's like 165, 170 pounds. I just don't know how long that's built to last. I mean, and when you got guys like Micah Parsons, Leighton Van Der Esch, and Jalen Smith trying to hunt you down twice a year, coming across the middle, those are some big dudes. So let's see. Zeke fumbles every 70.65 carries. Not what you want from him back. So, okay, I said 10 carries, 70s. I guess, that's better than 10, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
But, I guess kind of where I wanted to kind of wrap it up because I have to hop off here a little bit before 2, is who do you think is going to be the surprise Bronco of the year for you?
For me?
Yeah. It's a hard question because there's a ton of options.
Histories in the past, I'm going for Sauber.
That's who you're gonna go with.
I
Wow.
love the way that Sauber was blocking. He had phenomenal hands in the preseason. Noah Fant had issues. Alberto's coming back. I think there's going to be opportunity for him to see the field. And if he continues to play like he did in the preseason, I could see him continuously moving up that chart.
Absolutely. And I have like 500 of them, but the one that I want to highlight today, I mean, since he's came into the league, he's been coming up and up and up. And I think this is the year we finally just see it happen. Like he's finally going to just step into that role and be a complete dominant force that he's shown that he can be. Is Draymond Jones. The dude is just he wreaks havoc. I mean, he's always in the backfield. He's the primary reason why we've even had interior pressure lately. Because I mean, as much as I love Shelby Harris, he doesn't really get interior pressure. He's great at jumping up, swatting balls, stopping runs. But and same thing with Mike Purcell. Mike Purcell is really just there to plug a hole. I mean, he's a huge dude. He's not easy to move. So Draymond Jones has been fantastic at creating interior pressure. And I think this is the first year where we see him maybe get above that. I'm going to say he's going to go over 5.5 sacks, which in our scheme of defense is a lot for because he's considered a defensive end, but they kind of play on the interior in a 3-4. So I think we see him get 5 to 5.5 sacks at least. So that's my guy. And I don't know if I'm going to catch you. I don't know if you'll tune in Sunday morning because everyone's got different things going on. What is your prediction for the game? We'll wrap it up there.
I got the Broncos putting it up 2 touchdowns, putting in 2 field goals, holding the Giants to 1 apiece. Broncos win 2010.
I'll take it. All righty, Keith. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to try to do this more frequently, at least once a week. So always keep an eye out for the link. And one thing I want to give you a shout out. The name is skipping my head right now, but I've seen that you started kind of your own forum, your own kind of blog for the Broncos. And I've read it. Great stuff. So if you want to throw your plug out, or if you ever want to plug it on Rocky Mountain, just throw it out there. I think we've seen it a couple times. Great work that you're doing over there. It's been great and very good reads.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Denver Bronco Roundup, if anybody wants to take a look. Got a website, got a Facebook site. So Denver Bronco Roundup, no S on the Broncos. So Denver Bronco Roundup. Come take a look, and I appreciate the plug.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Anytime. It's all about building up Colorado. That's what we're all about. So it's been a pleasure, and I hope next time you can hop on with me. If not, when I run this, I'll pop up. Next time, I'll schedule it in advance so you guys can see the link beforehand. Feel free, guys. Hop on with me. Keith, it's been great, and we're going to wrap this one up, and we'll chat next time, guys.
All right. Go Broncos country.
Go Broncos.